these two friends that they met each other on the street, and one was really, really sad to the verge of tears. And the other one said, what's wrong with you? Let me tell you. 3 weeks ago, an uncle died. He left me $50,000. And the friend said, that's not bad. Oh, I'm just starting. 2 weeks ago, a cousin that I didn't even know he existed, he died, and he left me $150,000. That's not bad. Yeah, really. Said, last week, my grandfather died. And he left me almost $1 million. I said, but that's good. I said, really? This week, nothing? I want to talk to you about the best currency in the world. What is the best currency in the world, by the way? Do you know what is the best currency in the world? Sorry? No. I'm talking about finances now. No, it's not. I see the Qatari currency, honestly, in the ranking. But that's beyond the point. Because I did a little research for these sermons. I was learning a lot about currencies and things. And you will see in a minute where I'm going to, right? But everything, my inspiration for the sermon was the fact that on Tuesday is going to be the 17th of Tammuz. Don't forget about that. What is the 17th of Tammuz? It's a fast day. And because we are commemorating something that happened in the year 587 BCE. 587, remember that number. 587 BCE. What happened? It was the siege of Jerusalem by Nebuchadnezzar. And why this is so sad? Because basically the siege started a little bit earlier. But what happened on the 17th of Tammuz, this is the time where Nebuchadnezzar's army were able to breach the walls of Jerusalem. So basically, starting on this 18th of Tammuz, the battles were inside of Jerusalem. Okay, so it was the next level on a terrible chain of events that ended with the destruction of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem on the 9th of Av. Okay, so the 17th of Tammuz and the 9th of Av, the Tisha B'Av, are connected. In fact, there are 3 weeks in between the two, and we call that period of the Jewish calendar the 3 weeks. And there are certain restrictions, etc. But that's not the point. The thing is, I was reading a lot about the siege of Jerusalem and what happened. It was a terrible thing. Because on top of having Nebuchadnezzar around, there were some petty politics inside Jerusalem among different groups. And what happened is, eventually, when you have this kind of siege, that there is a point where money is useless. Money can't give you anything. Money doesn't work inside that place, right? Then eventually you have to start trading things. So currency switches from money to maybe food or certain services or certain favors. That's the reality of what happened. And you have to understand that the siege was so airtight that people couldn't get in or out of Jerusalem. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible thing. So there were prisoners in Jerusalem without the ability of doing anything. So I was thinking about this kind of currencies, that how it switches from which it would reach a point where money means nothing. And I was reading about this. You know what is the most valuable commodity in the USA penal system? In jail? And I tried to find things of Canada as well, but it's more difficult. It's banned now. So it's not cigarette anymore. It used to be, what is it? Gum? No. You will be shocked by this. The most valuable commodity is postage stamps. It's amazing, right? And also followed by protein bars and dry soup. That's currency. That's currency there. And I heard about the story. It's a real story of a man that he was telling. He was in jail for over 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. But he was there, and he has to learn how to manage the system. And he learned this thing, and he was a smart person. So very quickly, he became very rich in jail because he had lots of stamps. So when you have stamps, you can change it for food, for favors, for services, for other things. So he was able to accumulate lots of this. And then eventually one day, he receives a phone call from his lawyer, said, you know what, your case was reviewed. They made a mistake. You're a free man. So he left jail. And you can imagine his surprise when the first thing he did was go to 7-Eleven, and he tried to buy something, and he realized that stamps were useless. He was told cash, credit, or debit. So this currency that it was so valuable in jail meant nothing in the real world. But you know what? I was thinking that we are not so different from this prisoner if we think about the way we live our lives here in this world. Because for us, our currency is the thing that we try to accumulate are gold, dollars, euros, Bitcoin for some people, diamonds, right? But then what the rabbi said is eventually we receive the call and we move on to the Olam Haba, to the afterlife. We leave this world, and then we are going to be told that all that currency is useless there. So the rabbis try to figure out what is currency in the Olam Haba. And they say the currency in the Olam Haba are things that are worthless in this world. Things like studying Torah, doing chesed for other people, doing act of kindness, fulfilling mitzvot, words of encouragement, doesn't cost you anything. But that is currency, deposits that you're making towards your staying in the Olam Haba. It's fascinating. But it's also, of course, it reminded me to the situation of the siege of Jerusalem and how they went through the same process, but also about the way we get obsessed with money in this world, and we think very little about currency in the world to come. And I mentioned a little bit about this during the Torah reading. This is the case of Bilam, who was obsessed with money. And this is not something that I'm saying. The rabbis actually present Bilam as the model for the greedy person. The person who all he could think is, how can I get more and more and more? And there is a verse in this parsha, actually, we read it. Bonnie read it. Bonnie read it today, and I will read it in English. It's, when he was, Balak sent the messengers to hire him. And Bilam says, listen to this, even if Balak gives me his house full of money, I couldn't do anything contrary to the command of God. The rabbi said, here Bilam is showing his true colors, right? That for him, if I could, I will get your house full of money. But even Bilam recognized that there is something above money, that is the command of God. In the moments of sincerity, he acknowledged that. And it's interesting because this story of Bilam, there is something very similar in Pirkei Avot. And I know this because in the past I used to teach lots of Pirkei Avot between Pesach and Shavuot. And there is one passage on Pirkei Avot chapter 6 that is talking about this rabbi that is called Yossi ben Kisma. Have you ever heard of him? Yossi ben Kisma. Very wise man, incredible wise rabbi. He was traveling once, and we don't know where he was going. And I said, at that place, he was approached by a man, and he said, Rabbi, I would like you to move to my town. If you move to my town, I will make you a rich man. And the rabbi said, even if you give me all the money in the world, I won't go there because I only live in places where when I can be surrounded by Torah scholars. Which is very odd, because the rabbis take that sentence of Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma as the model, as a person who is all the opposite from Bilam. They were thinking, really? Sounds pretty similar, the two. Even if you give me all the money, I can't go with you. I prefer Torah, right? What is the difference between one and the others? And this is the thing, because what the rabbi explained about Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, that is what he meant is, well, I don't even know, when he was approached by this man, what he was implying is, I don't even know where you live, and I don't care. Because if you think that the best thing you can offer to a rabbi to move to that place is money, then I doubt I want to live in that place. You don't have anything else to tell me that is amazing in your place for me, to make it attractive for me to move, to say, hey, move to my city, most beautiful synagogues, wonderful Torah academies. We have brand new mikvah, whatever. No, all you can tell me, the best you can do is to tell me that you're going to make me a rich man. Sorry, I prefer to stay where I am, surrounded by Torah scholars. And this is very interesting. This is very interesting because the rabbis say that on the 17th of Tammuz is a time where we have to think about our priorities. And part of our priorities, part of that process is to think, what is the most valuable currency in the world? What should be chasing after? Gold, bitcoins, postage stamps, or something that it would last forever, like Torah study, like act of chesed, like doing something for somebody else. And this is interesting, because I know that we are not Bilam, okay? I'm not calling you Bilam, because I know you are not. But I also know that we are not Yossi ben Kisma. And for us who are sitting in between, this is a very tough conversation. Where is the limit in between providing for ourselves, but also making a deposit towards our life in the world to come? And this is what I learned. What I learned is that you have to imagine that we are a pipe. A pipe to move water from one place to the next. A pipe that starts in heaven and ends on earth. Will you agree that the main purpose of a pipe is to move the water from one place to the other and not to get wet inside? And yet, the pipe gets wet when it's moved the water. So God is sending us constantly all these blessings to make us God's messenger, to distribute those blessings everywhere we go. In the process, we get wet. In the process, we enjoy those material blessings, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to be a conduit of blessings from God to the world. And I'm sure that if we can learn this lesson, then we can be truly wealthy. Wealthy in the sense that we are content with what we have, and wealthy in the sense that we are sending in advance a good deposit in the world to come, where act of kindness, mitzvot, and good things are the real currency, the most valuable currency in the world. Shabbat Shalom.